Everyone got quiet, so I guess that was my cue to get started. Huh? Good morning and welcome to the last day of our senior thesis presentations. Over the last few days, we've heard some great speeches, have heard some great arguments and ideas, and actually have also heard some things that have caused us to pause and consider. And so we're excited about what we have before us today. Before we begin, I'd like to give some thanks. I'd like to thank our media team. Let's give a round of applause to our media team. I'd also like to thank our two faculty panelists, Mr. Aaron Anderson and Mrs. Murray. Give them a round of applause. And I'd also like to give a special thanks to our guest panelists today, the Dean of the Graduate School at Messiah College, Mrs. Jennifer Fissler. Thank you for coming. On the first day, I gave a special thanks to Mr. Grundon, and of course, I'd like to thank him again. Let's hear from Mr. Grundon. But I also have a special thanks for a certain group of people. There's a reality when you're in teaching that there are good teachers and there are bad teachers. There's great teachers and there's mediocre teachers. And no matter what a teacher does or how skilled they are, there's always a reality that so much of learning is actually on the student. Sometimes it's a hard reality to deal with, but what it means is you could have a terrible teacher and you can still learn a lot. Also means that you can have a great teacher and choose to learn very little. I'm very proud to say that our senior class has chosen to take mediocre teachers and they've chosen to learn a lot. A lot. And I can testify in many ways. There's been many times where Mr. Grun and I have looked at each other and said, oh, I see some things in their speech. I see some things in their project that we have taught them. But I also see a lot that came from them and did not come from us. And so that speaks very highly of their efforts. That speaks very highly of grasping the opportunities that have been given to them and wanting to get the most out of that. And we're very excited about that. And we can say that as a whole, the seniors have done that this year. So we want to thank the senior class for that. Let's thank them. So on Tuesday, I spoke about how senior thesis is about cultivating wisdom in our students. Yesterday, Mr. Grundon shared about how senior thesis shows the intentionality of students, not only in the senior year, but all the years leading up to it. Intentionality of diligence, intentionality of perseverance in their studies, and preparing, realizing that one day this will bear fruit. So today I'd like to just share a little bit about one last thing that we hope comes out of senior thesis. We hope that it forms in our seniors, but we also hope that because it forms in them, it also forms in us, those who listen to read their papers or listen to their speeches. The last thing is something that is very, very difficult to force, definitely difficult to force, but also difficult even just to craft a situation where this can arise. And that last thing is simply compassion. Compassion toward the brokenness and toward the hurt, toward the difficulties that are in this world. If we're just learning to learn, we're only increasing the size of our heads. And the Bible says knowledge puffs up. And just using the word puffs already kind of signifies the wastefulness of only doing that. But the Bible also encourages some understanding, some empathy, some compassion, some care given to those people that are in difficult situations. While yes, maybe that situation was caused by their choices, yet we can still have compassion on them. So, I think in the last 2 days, we have been asked to increase our compassion. We've been asked to increase our compassion for police officers and communities that are trying to figure out how to have peace in the community and how to do that well, which honors everyone. We've been asked to empathize with users and companies of social media to avoid addiction, to avoid all these things and try to say who can be responsible and help us out of this mess. We've been asked to care about teenagers as they use their jobs. Even care about the employers who are trying to create situations and environments where the teenagers can flourish and not be abused. We've been asked to consider parents and consider how difficult it is to tailor the parenting style to each child and each child's uniqueness. We've been asked to consider the care for those who are addicted to pornography and those who are victims of human trafficking. Lastly, we've been asked to consider the students who are squares amongst triangles and trying to figure out how they can learn despite some things that are atypical or things that are difficult for them in a classroom filled with students that are very much unlike them. So today, students, I ask that